The show today is brought to you in part by Easton Archery, Gas Bowstrings, Trophy Ridge, Maltree Mobile, Vapor Trail, Burris Optics, The Bow Hitch, and caffeine provided by Deer Camp Coffee. Now, on to the show. Hey guys, welcome to the BowHunterPlanet Outdoor Podcast. Today we are talking to Hoyt. Evan's going to go over the new bows they have this year. It's another great, exciting year for Hoyt, and to see what they had in 2025 is really exciting. And what I really wanted out of this show today was to have Evan go through the bows with us, but also try to give us a little more detail behind, the design or some of the things about the bows, the specs. But Evan, welcome to the show, man. You're a full man chew. I love it.
Yep. How's it going, Dave? Yeah, it was an experiment for November that didn't quite pay off on my end. But
I think it was 2020. It did pay off for me. I did a straight mustache, which I had never done before, and it was just the mustache. And I was like, I'm gonna try it, and I ended up getting a nice buck that year. It was crazy, and ever since I haven't gotten nothing. So I should have probably kept the mustache.
I was gonna say maybe I left a little bit too much there, but yeah, just one of those things. So 2 inches away from having the clean sweep and just having a perfect season with tags.
Yeah.
So
tell us about Hoyt this year, man. This is a lot going on. We got a new carbon riser here. I mean, very exciting stuff coming out here from you guys. So I guess give us a rundown. I guess let's start with the aluminum. Like, where are we at with that? What did you guys launch? And give us some insight behind it.
Yep. So we have the Alpha AX2 series, and it comprises 3 different bows. So we have the AX2 in a 29-inch axle option. We have it in a 32, and then we also have it in an SD, the short draw model. And the short draw is kind of a bow all in its own because it has its own cam design with a module system, where the 29 and the 32 have their own cam and module system. Right off the bat, the first thing that we did from last year is we shrunk each one of those bows. So we went from a 30 down to a 29, 33 down to a 32. That allowed us to drop the total mass weight. So straight out of the box, you're looking at, I think, 0.4 pounds reduction. Again, that's out of the box weight. Some of that is in the riser. Some of that is in our new shortstop stabilizer. A little more slimmed down, trimmed it up a little bit, gave it a better look. But the big thing that we did in that series was redesigning that cam. So the new HBX Gen 4 cam is our 4th generation in this HBX series that we've been working on the last couple of years. And it is a 5-module family system. So you have one base cam, but you now have 5 modules that cover the full range of adjustability. Each one, well, the number 1 base cam is going to give you 5 positions of adjustability because we're in 1/4 inches. So it's going to go 26 to 27 inches. From there all the way up through the rest of that range, you only have 4 different adjustment location areas in 1/4 inch increments with no overlap. So on the short axle, you're going to get 26 to 27, 27 1/4 to 28, 28 1/4 to 29, 29 1/4 to 30. And then in the 32, all of those lengths bump up. So we do still hit 31 inches in that longest position. And we start down at 26 and have that same progression. So the 2, 3, 4, and 5 modules all only have 3/4 of an inch of adjustability. So you have a lot better performance. You don't have as much of a drop off between, your brake used to be on the short axle at 28, and then 28 1/4 to 30 was another module. And we were seeing significant reductions in speed just in that 1/4 inch. So you could be shooting a 1/4 inch longer draw, but leave, 10 plus feet per second on the table, where now you have that 1/4 inch shift and you're only leaving a couple feet. So it's much more designed around performance and the optimization at every 1/4 inch draw length through the entire range.
I have to say the SD kind of threw me off when it said 23 to 27. I mean, that's pretty low, 23. I don't know how you guys got down that low, but that's pretty impressive, honestly.
Yep. And the short draw is going to cover 23 to 27 inches, and it is in its own cam. So you have one module that runs the entire range from 23 to 27, only in 1/2 inch increments. It doesn't have quarters, but it does have a bump in let off, where the previous version, which would have been the Eclipse, which was still a cam and a half, we're now in a binary system. It's a rotating module. and we are an 80% fixed let off instead of the 75.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Well, let's talk about colors real quick of this bow. Is there anything new in this lineup?
Color wise, no. Um, we have the same color scheme set up. So on the solids, you have the wilderness option, which is our OD green look. We have the bourbon, which is that harvest, that fall brown. The tombstone, which is your gray, and then we have the blackout. And then on our camos, we did the First Light Circa and the Mossy Oak Bottomland as full staples in that line. And then Sitka, Elevate 2, and Subalpine. And then you have the Kuyu Verde. In Realtree, we did make the change to the new APX pattern because Edge has gone away. And then we did take the Vias limb option out. So we had the option for the Vias from Kuyu just in a limb offering last year. We did remove that from the line this year.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see the 29 size. You know, I love to see the small bow, and then also following it up with the 32 right behind it is a really good idea in my opinion because it gives people the option right there alone. Those are like the two, in my opinion, those are like the two best areas to be in right there.
And they really are. And the other thing the engineering team wanted to do with that is, and it's been a couple of years since we talked about it, but when we came out with the DFX,
I lost you for a minute there. Sorry.
did I lose you?
We'll have to edit that out. Sorry. Go back about 10, 15 seconds to what you were saying. Sorry. I don't know what happened there.
Oops. Did you get me back?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me or no?
Yep. Sometimes my audio cuts.
Yeah, the audio cut out first, then it came back.
Okay.
What's gonna do is gonna do 2 tracks for you, just FYI. So once we're uploading,
you're gonna have to come back and do some cutting.
Don't worry about that. Yeah, that's fine.
So in 2016, when we launched the DFX cam, one of the things that we talked about and really worked on the design process was the effective string position. And that's the angle of the string position at full draw. So the shorter axle you get, the steeper or the more acute that angle becomes. So when you design that cam, that when it rolls over and breaks at full draw, it stands up higher. You are coming higher off that cam, you get a better string angle, so you can take a shorter axle to axle bow and give it the head position and the string angle of a longer bow so that you feel more comfortable, you increase accuracy and consistency. So what we did going down to a 29-inch axle bow, but redesigning that cam where it pitches off the top of the cam for your string angle is, if we reference the VTM 31, you're 2 inches axle to axle difference between those two bows. But at full draw, that string angle on the 29 is only a 1/4 inch difference than the VTM 31 was.
That's
so
crazy.
Effectively, you're taking a 29-inch bow and getting the string angle of a 2-inch longer bow. So that 32 is going to have the string angle and feel of a 34. Conversely, on the carbon side, your RX9 is still a 30-inch bow, so it'll feel like a 32, and your Ultra is now a 33 axle to axle, so it's going to feel like a 35.
Wow, that's cool. That's crazy. That's very interesting. I never heard it described that way, but that makes complete sense on the angle you're talking about and being steeper. That's interesting.
And where that really plays a bigger role is the longer draw length archers that are wanting to shoot a shorter, more compact bow, whether that's because you're a whitetail guy, and so you're in tighter quarters, or you don't like cutting big lanes and you want more natural foliage around you, so you've got tighter quarters in the tree, or you do a lot of ground blind hunting with that longer draw. That bow is farther away from you in the blind, so you're not under the middle of that hub anymore. Now you're farther towards that window where you start getting the pitch coming down into that front. So when you look at those 29 and 30-inch draw length guys that are in a 29-inch bow, the higher you can pitch that string off, the more comfortable they're going to feel, and you don't have to crane that head down, and now you've got extra pressure in your neck, and your eye is no longer centered in your socket, okay? You're actually tilting your eye based on that string angle. The more upright you can keep that, the greater the reduction in eye fatigue and strain. So you can hold longer at full draw without having a delayed response between what is physically happening outside in your pin and what is being relayed to your brain, because you're not corrupting those wavelengths.
That's interesting. Wow, I never thought you guys are taking this into some depth right here. I like that idea though. That's cool that you guys use some of that knowledge like that to do this stuff. That's really cool.
Yep.
So this bow, so let's talk about pricing and size or weight. Sorry. So the 29 is around 4.25 pounds. It shows on your website, which is, I think is great for an aluminum bow.
Yep.
The 32 jumps up to 4.5, which is still
4.5,
great
yep.
for aluminum bow. So that's excellent. And then let's talk about pricing. Is this more than last year or the same?
I think we're up 50
50?
bucks. I
Okay,
think
yeah,
we're
'cause I know
50
it's
bucks up
somewhere
from
close
last
to
year.
this. So 14.49 and 15.49, and then your SD, I'm assuming is 14.49 as well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the SD.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
awesome. Tell me about the front end stabilizer on the bow. It looks a little different to me. Is that a newer design?
Yep, it is a redesign. So not only is it the shortstop version, but it's also going to carry over into the new Stealth Pro Series stabilizers. So essentially what we did is we removed that external cage that was on the shortstop series. So one thing they'll do is if guys were replacing those machined aluminum weights on the end and go into either a stainless or a tungsten or just a heavier weight system, what that was doing is you were actually pulling that rubber down hard enough and basically resting on the cage so you could get some rattle. So we wanted to take that off for the guys that were adding more weight onto the stabilizer. And then with doing that, we wanted to create a more efficient dampening material. So we've got different material in that rubber dampening end. And then we replaced the machined aluminum with a stainless weight system. So total overall on the entire stabilizer, so you have the new 2.0, which is the short included stabilizer. Then we also have the 6, 8, and 10 inch Pro Series. On the 6, 8, and 10, they're down like I think 0.2 ounces. So it's not a significant reduction in the overall mass weight, but the percentage or the balance point. So when the guys talk about FOC on an arrow, okay, this is essentially moving the FOC on your stabilizer farther to the end so that your stabilizer is now doing more of what it is supposed to do in either slowing down the motion of the hold or just adding more mass weight so that you have a better, more consistent shot.
Yeah, that makes sense. I tend to, I don't know why this is, but I kind of forget about the accessory market for all of you guys, for the bow manufacturers, and I know it's really big now. I know it's gotten way bigger than it used to be. And I was just thinking about this because I was over at Moore Archery in Michigan, one of our biggest shops in our area, and he's got all the Hoyts and he's got all the Hoyt accessories, and you're like, whoa, like wow, you know what I mean? Like it's so cool to see that, with all the stabilizers and things like that, quivers. Is that like a lot of work for you guys? I mean, is that something you're trying to do something every year? Because I feel like the reason you guys, maybe not just you, but all the brands haven't really jumped into it till these last few years is because it's been a lot of work, but I could be wrong. But
It is. And we have a dedicated engineer just to the accessory side of things because as our production engineers are working on new cams and new limbs, okay, all of that has to integrate together to
yeah,
be part of a system. So when we're designing the bows, we're designing and tweaking the accessories so that they work in conjunction with that to create a better system. One, with our inline, we want to be lighter overall mass weight without reducing the shot experience, the accuracy, and the consistency that you're going to get. But two, we want to create a quieter and less vibration system once we load that bow up. There's some aftermarket quivers that I'm sure we've all used, in the past. The Quickie quiver was a big one. Easy to take on and off, okay? Easy to manufacture and produce. But the material of the hood, if you had to shoot with it on, would create noise and vibration because of the open design of that hood. And there's some other manufacturers, the last couple of years that have kind of had something similar and have worked on adding vibration and noise reduction technology into their designs. But ultimately, we want to create a system that is going to work together. So when you use Hoyt inline accessories on our bows, we get an 11% reduction in noise and vibration when we add accessories to your bow, which in most cases is not the fact. Most of the time when you start adding things on, you are adding more moving parts, which is going to create more ability for vibration and movement as that arrow is fired because you're expelling energy.
that's interesting. I wonder. I was trying to figure this out, and I was thinking about it, and I was trying to figure this out. But at what point? I guess is it hard from a marketing perspective to flip this? I guess what I'm trying to get to here is, the manufacturers, including you guys and other ones, have seemed to kind of move this to your brand, right? So instead of Fuse or other brand names, they're using your actual bow brand. Is that? I guess when did that start happening? And is there a reason? Not just you, but you think the industry is kind of moving that direction where you're kind of putting your label on the product? I guess my point is, why not call it like Siphon and sell it as a separate unit instead of put your name on? I'm just curious, like how does that?
For me personally, coming from a shop like where we had the Fuse brand for a number of years, there was doing more with pro shops. You could have a non-marketed accessory line. So if someone is looking at buying a competing manufacturer than Hoyt, they may not feel bad because they like the look or the price point of a Fuse sight or a Fuse quiver or a Fuse stabilizer. And if they look at it and they like that price point or they like the design, but it says Hoyt on it, well, how many guys are going to put a Hoyt stabilizer on a different company's bow or vice versa? Like, I know I'm not going to go and throw a competing manufacturer's product on a Hoyt bow that I'm going to shoot. I want our stuff, right? I'm supporting the company that I'm shooting. And that's really a big trend in the industry is I want a Hoyt bow with a Hoyt sight and a Hoyt quiver and a Hoyt stabilizer because that's my brand. That's who I am. And it's really a reflection of an individual hunter's identity to a big degree. That's why color for so long was so popular, because it was an expression of my identity as a hunter.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point. And I think it's it's amazing. And it's also speaks volumes that Hoyt can do this can do a quiver that's a Hoyt quiver for only Hoyt bows. Because realistically, like you just said, you're not going to buy this quiver and put it on a different brand. Or vice versa for other companies. You're not going to buy your quiver and put it on their brand. But it speaks volumes to the amount of the power of Hoyt, I guess, the amount of people buying your bows, the amount of people use them. Because, of course, I agree with you 100%. Like, if I'm buying a Hoyt, I want this on there. I agree. Just looking at it in the color match alone, it's almost like when you buy a car, you get a very specific color car. And when you want an accessory that goes with that car, you buy from GM Direct or Ford Direct, you're going to get the same color, like the cap on the back or whatever. So it makes complete sense to me. But what I guess I'm getting at is in order to do this, in order to have your own quiver for your own bow, you have to be doing very well, because otherwise you're really kind of missing a lot of market, all these people buying. But I think what we're seeing here is my point is that the big companies, the big bow manufacturers, not all of them, but the bigger ones like yourselves, you're able to do this and it works because your clientele will buy this and put it on their bow and it works well. It is very interesting because we're almost getting this like interesting shift to where, and you guys know this because you've owned Fuse and other brands, but you're almost getting a little bit of a shift here where, if someone buys a Hoyt, they're buying all Hoyt, everything that goes with it,
Any short-sighted spy in the field can provide you with images. Only the Moultrie Edge 2 cell cams provide tactical reconnaissance, high-resolution photos and videos paired with detailed intel of where game is most active. Built for simplicity, just turn on your Edge 2 cell cam and it will auto-connect to one of the 4 major cellular networks, while our easy-to-use app arms you with game plan, so you can determine where and when to hunt. Don't just capture images, gather intelligence.
The most advanced range-finding bow sight is now even better. Introducing the Oracle 2 from Burris. Based on customer feedback, we improved the pin brightness control, refined the LRF adjustment system, and brightened the aiming ring. There's still no glass to scratch, fog, glare, or break, and the fail-safe 20-yard pin has your back no matter what. At the push of a button, you instantly get the yardage to target. Extend your ethical distance with the Oracle 2 from Burris.
But Easton match grade shafts undergo a far more meticulous straightness check, with razor tolerance at both ends, the center, and the critical quarter locations. Discover the ultimate in precision and made in USA quality. Visit your authorized Easton dealer and pick up your Easton match grade Pro Shop Series arrows today.
Established in a small town in Kentucky in 1981, a company that produces quality products that archers have come to rely on. I started shooting with a Scott release and have passed the tradition on. As I've aged, the company I started with continues to innovate and produce the premium products it always has. My dad always told me, never forget where you came from. Well, I haven't. Shoot with confidence. Shoot a Scott.
What does it mean to be unrivaled? To be unrivaled isn't about winning a trophy. It's about putting in the hours that nobody else sees. To be unrivaled isn't just a choice, it's a lifestyle. It's to push yourself to be your best day in and day out. Gas Bowstrings. Be unrivaled.
For more than 20 years, Trophy Ridge has developed tools that bow hunters trust and continue to lead the way in bow hunting innovation. Our field-proven products dish out dirt naps all over the world. We've manufactured and sold millions of products along the way, each one strategically designed to give you a distinct advantage in the field. From the backyard and competitive courses to the backcountry and Midwest cornfields, our products remain lethal, accurate, and continue to help you react to the situation at hand. Trophy Ridge accessories give you confidence regardless of the situation. Our sights, rest, stabilizers, quivers, and releases set you up to be successful season after season. There are plenty of factors to think about on the hunt. Your gear shouldn't be one of them. We're Trophy Ridge, and we build the tools that bow hunters trust.
We are outdoors people, boating, fishing, hunting, and we are coffee lovers. My husband and I, we met at a coffee shop about 20 years back. So we've grown to love different blends, different beans, and different types of coffee. And throughout our time together, we decided that we wanted to create something for ourselves. So that's where this all came into play. And it's not just an outdoorsman, it's women, men, children. It's the community that come in here and they like it. They sit down at our cafe, they might have a venison hot dog, a cold brew coffee, and they enjoy their time here.
The bow manufacturers, and one of the first things when I started working in a shop almost 20 years ago, when I started looking at, rebuilding one of my bows, first thing my boss told me is, if you're going to buy accessories, you buy as many as you can from that specific bow manufacturer, because we're designing those accessories to work with our bow, not to be just an accessory to have because I have to have a quiver or I have to balance my bow better, right? So we can go, okay, these are the noise and vibration, and these are the harmonic characteristics of our bow bear. When we add accessories on at key locations on the riser, how much weight do we need? How far off? Like, we can take measurements to go, okay, if this quiver hood weighs this many ounces and we put it in this location versus this location, and it might be a 1/2 inch difference, we can plug that into our system and go test it and go, this location is better for harmonics than this location. So we now have the ability to alter our end product to work better with our accessories because we have the sound studio and all of the equipment and technology to physically go test that to build the ultimate shooting machine.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a good point. I mean, you don't think, people don't always think of that, but like that's a great reason, in my opinion, to do that because you are going to get the best for that model doing it this way. All right, let's move on to the carbon. This is the bigger one, in my opinion. This is what most people ask about just because it's so cool and you guys have been doing it for so long. But tell us about what we got for carbon this year and some of the numbers behind it.
With the RX9 series this year, we've got a completely new riser that allows us to integrate a new limb pocket, a brand new limb, and the new Gen 4 HBX cam. So we have a whole brand new system. The short axle did not change, so it's still the 30. The Ultra did come down from a 34 down to a 33. So we've got a little bit shorter brace height, shorter axle to axle. And honestly, that's the one from following what's being talked about on social media and watching YouTube reviews and comments and things like that. That's the one that's going to probably get the most attention this year. By shortening that limb and going to a more performance-driven cam system with this Gen 4, in the 30-inch draw length position, we picked up 8 feet per second. So we have a 30-inch draw length, 33 axle bow that is shooting 340 feet per second.
Wow.
Now, typically, as you start coming down off the top, you're going to see that increase reduce, okay? Ours actually increases. So from 30 down to 29, you go from an 8 foot per second increase over last year at 30 inches to 19 foot per second increase. 20,
Holy cow.
29. 28 and a half is like an 18 foot per second increase. 28 is like a 16 foot per second increase over last year. So double digit increases that give you so much better speed and performance in those shorter draw length ranges because again, we can engineer each one of those 1/4 inch draw length positions because we have a smaller module to do it in. The other thing that doing a new limb and cam system allowed us to do on the Ultra is it no longer stops at a 27-inch draw length. It now goes down to 26. So that number 1 mod is going to come 26 to 27 inches. So it's going to have the same range of adjustability as the AX2 32 axle. And then stopping at 31 for the guys that need that longer 32 mark, we have the TXL limb, which is the limb that is on our concept target bows for this year. Gives us a little bit longer brace height, goes back to almost ideal specs from the RX8 and allows us to get to that 32-inch draw length range and put you back in a 34 axle and right around that 7-inch brace.
This is super impressive, man, because I mean, realistically, you guys in this carbon area, you're able to go 23 to 32 inches of draw realistically across all these bows. You're also able to get up to 80 pounds for those who are looking for that.
With a brand new 75 stock limb weight option. So if you've been one of those guys who's been on the fence, like, I don't know if I really want to go 80 because I hunt a lot of late season stuff. I don't want to pull 80 pounds in single digits on a late season hunt, but I know I maybe want some more speed or something, and 70 maybe is just on the lower end of where you want to be. You can now stock order a 75 limb.
That's really cool. That is really cool. So we got 3.9 pounds, 4.0 pounds, and 4.3 for the 3 different models. The price point.
So the SD is going to be your lightest one at 3.9. Your regular 9 is at that 4, and then that Ultra is 4.3.
And then so the regular 9 and the SD are $20.99, and then the Ultra is going to be $21.49. Which isn't really much more actually for adding in the
$50
now
bucks or something.
I guess let me ask you this: over the years, it could be with these models or even a little bit past, like last year. I'm assuming this, and I just want to see if you might have some knowledge on it. But the 33-inch X-axle, 34-inch X-axle, would that be like your would you say like the most sales come from that size bow?
I actually,
I mean, overall.
up to a couple of years ago, I would have said the majority aluminum or carbon sales, the majority were going to be the short axle.
Wow.
What we've seen probably the last 3-4 years is a shift towards that longer axle.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think we're quite 50-50. I think we're probably around a 60-40 split towards the short. This would probably be the first year I would say we're going to see straight up 50-50 or slightly higher towards the AX2 32-inch and the Carbon Ultra.
Yeah, I think in Michigan, I feel like what I see here most in the Midwest is for years, and including myself, I like the 30, the 29, 28. Like I like the smaller type stuff, and I still do. I would never still change that for the way I shoot. But since what I've noticed here is since like shows like the TAC have come to town now for a couple years, people are kind of migrating closer to the 34-inch mark, 33, because of competition shooting as well as 3D and doing a little bit more is my point. Like the people who are doing it are doing a little bit more now.
Yeah, and you've got local 3D courses here and there in the TACs and some of those that are starting to push, and we don't have a 50-yard max anymore. Maybe we've got 50 yards for 30 targets, but we're going to have one novelty one out there and we're going to have it at 86 or we're going to have it at 93. So when you start getting some of those longer shots that you would typically see out west, that slightly longer axle is going to give you a little bit more weight, better head position, better string angle. So it's going to give you a little bit better hold, more consistency, and therefore ultimately a little bit better accuracy.
So is that bow, would you say, if we went state by state, would you suggest that the western states would be more likely to move towards the 33?
I don't think they would be more likely to move towards it because I think most of them are already there.
They're already there. That's what I was getting to. So if you just broke your thing up into by state, I would assume the western states are shooting the 33 just because of what you just said specifically, because I know your shots are usually 60 yards plus. Not always a simple shot. Whereas in Michigan and Ohio, we're usually tree stand hunters. It's usually 20, 30, 40 the most generally, here. So I can see why people like short bows here compared to longer bows that way,
Yeah, and I saw a number a couple years ago, and gosh, it might be 10 years at this point, where like the average whitetail shot in this group of hunters it was pulled, it was, thousands of hunters, was like 18 yards. Well, the way I look at it too is if I'm in my stand and I'm 20 or 25 feet up, if I've got my platform at 20, and I'm 5'9", then at my shoulder, I'm going to be, just over 4 feet, which is now the angle, correct? So when I go to make a steep down angled shot out of my saddle or tree stand, let's say he's 10 yards and in, that is extremely tight here. If I have a short axle and that string angle gets way tight or acute, right? The tighter that angle becomes, the more acute it is, okay? That means I have to bring my head further down in, creating more pressure and contact on my face. I now have more susceptibility to string variance, and therefore that string not coming off clean, and now my arrow not hitting behind my pin. So even in a tree stand, like I like that 32, 33 axle because when I come down on those angles, that string is farther up into my nose, so I don't have to come down as tight. So I'm not impeding that string's performance and direction because I'm not putting extra pressure into it.
Makes sense.
So I think the guys who are going to go aluminum, I think we're going to see a really big spike in the 32 aluminum sales this year. And then I think we're going to be in that probably 55, 45-ish range for the RX-9 Ultra over the RX-9.
Yeah, that's interesting. This your bow builder is pretty awesome. I was just doing it while you're talking to me. This is so cool. You can literally choose everything. I love it. Looks so cool.
Choose riser color, limb color, string color. You can choose between the two different cams if you're going to be a Gen 4 or you're going to be a short draw. You can play with, again, the different weights, different draw lengths, all the different accessories. You can also do like a 3D image, like it'll actually project it. So
yeah, this is sweet. Now is the oh wow, yeah, I can just move it and rotate it. That's so cool. So is the concept with this to what would I do with this? And I said like share with my pro shop or something.
Yeah, you could share with buddies in your group, like, hey, I put this together. What do you guys think of the look?
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea.
Or yeah, print it off on a sheet or email it directly to your dealer and place your order that way.
This RX-9 is sick though, dude. It looks so good, especially that mossy oak. I love it. Oh my gosh. Looks good.
That wilderness with the bottomland limb is also it's a good looking bow.
I
Same
stay
with
the
the same
bourbon.
with the tombstone. With the bourbon, we built one of those for one of our sales reps.
So cool.
He went with a bourbon riser and the bottomland limbs.
Yeah, it looks really good. We tried the wilderness. Oh yeah, it looks cool too.
And honestly, if you're a Realtree guy, the Tombstone Gray with the new APX limb, that one's a winner too.
Interesting. That's cool. All right, so we talked about the two major bows within their variants. Let's talk real quick about one that I just don't want to make sure we don't skip it for those who can't afford the higher end. Is the Torx? Is that still going to be available?
Yep, Torx and Torx XT. Yep, they're still in the line. So you have two different versions. You have the Torx and the Torx XT. Torx is going to be a 26 to 30 inch draw length in half-inch adjustments. Both of those bows are cam and a half. And then the XT version is going to give you an extra half-inch on the bottom, so it'll cover 25 and a half to 30 inches. It does have an LD or a long draw option. So we've got a second limb that we can put on that will allow you to reach 31 inches for draw length. I think that one is $899 MSRP.
I think so, yeah.
It's got a roll.
It's Torx regular?
The XT.
XT, yeah, it's 100 more than that. I'm looking at
Yep.
the Torx regular right now. It's $799.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little difference in axle and speed. The XT is going to be a little bit quicker. It's got a roller guard instead of a cable slide. I'm going to get caught on the specs here. I want to say the XT is 9 feet per second faster.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So on your website, so the Torx regular is $799 MSRP and the Torx XT is $999 MSRP. But you guys did offer a new camo in the Mossy Oak, which is sick.
Yes.
It looks great. And for those who haven't shot this bow, I've shot both these bows. I actually have this bow. I'd highly recommend the XT if you can throw in a little bit extra money. You're just getting a lot more, in my opinion, for that extra $100. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, when we first came out with that, I put one together for a spring turkey hunt. Dude, I love that thing. Like,
that's a great bow.
And honestly, like, I shot that thing so well. I don't know if I've had, until my 32 this year, I don't know that I had more confidence in a bow at 60 than I did with that XT.
Yeah, that's so cool. So the real quick on the other one, so the Highline, will that stay in the mix for now?
Yep, Highline's still there. So you've got a 29 2-inch range in the number 2 module, and then 32 and a half up to a 34-inch draw length range on the Highline. Yep, so those super long draw guys. A lot of times we see NFL pro guys, offensive and defensive linemen running those. We did a custom one of those for Karl Malone here in Utah. So that's the big boy bows.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Looks like you guys did. I don't know how many people here do target archery, but I know you guys did launch the concept. It looks like for the target people that are interested. If you guys are interested in target stuff from Hoyt, just comment below. I can set up another meeting with Evan to do this if you guys want to hear about it, because I don't know how many guys really want to hear about the target side, because I know it's very specific.
And
but you guys did offer some new bows.
And one of the really unique things is, as we were going through product development, there was a little bit more emphasis put on the concept from a timeline standpoint, because the product launch for concept was before we were doing the hunting side. So as we were going through testing and the entire build process for concept, there was a lot of things that we learned going through that we were making changes not only to our target line, but as we're learning these things and learning what we can do and how we can influence some directional changes in how the bow points and holds and some of those things, like we're making changes to the hunting line as we're learning things with this new target build. We just launched our podcast for the 2025 product. I sat down with Kevin Shamblin. He was the engineer that actually headed up our cam projects for this year. So the SD cam, the Gen 4 cam, and the Spectre cam on the concept, like all of those are his babies. And he just piggybacked this, told him this, I can implement that over here, and just the things that he learned and some of the testing protocols that we've started implementing. Like, we've got some new proprietary tests that we're going through and taking every single bow through now to build it, to create a better system, to create a better shooting experience for every single consumer at that dealer level.
I never noticed this before. And I don't know why. I don't know why I missed this, but you guys have your own bow cases too. They go with your bow, which are really nice and they're cheap. I can't believe it. This Excursion.
So the Excursion it's got two different colorways. So we've got a gray and a black, and then a bourbon and black. You've got some nice pockets in there. You've got an arrow tube holder. You've got a Velcro strap system. So as you're traveling around, you can contain your bow within that. I'm one that, like, I use that Excursion on trips, and I've got boots in there. I've got some spare clothes. I've got all my fletching stuff. I've got spare stabilizers and broadheads, and that sucker is loaded. I probably have a 40-pound bag going on the road.
Last question real quick is just that the Vital Point grip, that stays the same, correct?
Yep, did not make any changes to that. So grip angle, feel on that. We've got so many guys that love that grip.
Dude, that grip's unbelievable. That's got to be my favorite grip in the industry, hands down. I mean, it literally has just the right amount of like grippiness and ergonomic. I can't explain it. Maybe it's just my hand, and that's the thing. I always tell people, you got to shoot a Hoyt. Because I don't know any bow. I shoot a lot of bows, of course, and I don't know any bow that is more rock solid for me than a Hoyt.
And I think one of the things that goes with that is NPA, or natural point of aim, which has to do with the rotational flex of the riser during that translation or the draw cycle, right? As you draw, your cam is moving. That's called cam translation. So with the new harness system we have less cam translation, which ultimately reduces the amount of rotational torque around your grip when you get to full draw. So when you come to full draw, you hit that back wall, boom, and you are locked in. So you have less time to acquire your target, and therefore you're starting to execute your shot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
You have more confidence in your shot, so you're executing it in a more timely fashion. So you're getting the shot done quicker. But for anyone who's, that buck's coming in, you got to get back and get on quick, rap, twat. If you can do all of that faster by 3, 4, 5 seconds, all you're doing is reducing the amount of time that animal has to pinpoint your location and get out of the way of the arrow.
That's crazy. I never knew it had more to do with other stuff like that. I honestly had no idea. I just always felt like this is the most solid bow I've ever shot of all brands. Like it always has been, that locking mechanism. And I didn't realize that there was more to that. That's super cool. Like I honestly didn't know that.
Wait till your 25s get there to test. When your 25s get there to test, it's very hard for me to describe it. One, because everyone thinks I'll just be blowing smoke, right? Like, well, you work for Hoyt, you're on the marketing team. I've never picked up a bow, come to full draw, and just parked it.
Yeah.
My background is in Olympic rifle shooting. We use open sights, peep sights. So they're a series of concentric circles. So I have a front circle sight, a back circle sight. I'm lining those up on a circular bullseye. So when I go to an archery site and I have a pin, whether it's an up pin or a horizontal pin, consistently I'm lollipopping because I want to see over that. This is the first bow I have picked up and went, I want to hit that tee on that corner right there, and that pin goes.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And again, I'm not sitting down here looking over the top of it. It goes, oh, you want to hit right there? Okay, we'll sit right there.
It is. So, it's just solid, man. You get it back, it locks in place. Like it's pretty impressive, and not just locks. Like it's the way you can hold the bow. In my opinion, is like what you're saying. You can actually hold, and I think that's why Hoyt does so well in target archery and championships and things like that. Because of those reasons, you guys have that technology of something that's just a little bit better and a little bit more than I think people realize. And being more of a hunter than anything, I never realized in all these years of doing this that there was actually a little bit more to that story. I'm really happy you said that today. That's really cool. But Evan, hey, it's really great to see you, man. Thank you so much for doing this. If you guys haven't shot a Hoyt, please get to your store and shoot it. You'll understand what we're talking about when you feel it yourself. Just make sure if you do go test these things, that you draw them at the weight you're good with, right? Don't overdraw at 70 pounds because that's not going to make you comfortable. Get it to where it's comfortable, then draw and shoot the bow as your practice to see if you like the bow or not when you're in the store. So,
and really, and honestly too, guys, like draw length too. Like it doesn't take much to make that adjustment. If it's off by a ½ inch, you're not going to have the best shooting experience because you're going to pull through the draw force curve. Okay. You're going to pull longer through that. You have a different feel than what you're going to have when you own that bow and it fits you correctly.
All right, Evan, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Good luck this year.
Guys.
We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning into the show today. We hope you had a good time. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and like button where you can. You can find us all over every platform. And don't forget to join our membership programs, have a lot of fun with the community here, and have a chance to win some really cool products. We'll see you soon.